heaven,
spiritual
master,
grand
predecessor,
and
all transmitters for this opportunity, for allowing me to speak. And today, my topic is Patriarch Sunguang, or Second Patriarch. So, Sunguang established a foundation of Zen by practicing Zazen wholeheartedly, as known as the Nanpeki Kunen. He is the first patriarch of Zen and the Dharma successor of Bodhidharma. They say that he was near the Rakuyo, or like Guoyang, Henan, or Henan
province.
Province in China. It was called Songguang, which means like God's light, in his childhood. And after learning the ideology of Roshi and Soshi, which is Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi, of Taoism and Buddhism, he moved to Shangshan near Rakuyo, and he became a monk under Bao Jing, something like that. Bao Jing. And he continued necessary practices in various places. When he was 32 years old, he came back to Kozan and practiced for 8 years. After that, he visited Bodhidharma at the Shaolin Shi at age 40 and became Bodhidharma's disciple. After several years of hard practice, he received from Bodhidharma the Dharma transmission. After Bodhidharma's death, his teachings were regarded as Mago, which is like devilish words, and believers in Buddhism suffer persecutions. And during Songguang's lifetime, Buddhists experienced Buddhism suppression laws, and in spite of this difficult situation, he continued preaching for 40 years, devoting himself to training up his successors until he died at the age of 107. So, Master Songguang eventually traveled north and west to the new capital of the Eastern Wei dynasty called Ye in modern Hebei province. There he taught publicly and gained a circle of devoted followers. He also intermingled with society, including visits to wine houses and brothels. He was sometimes seen living as a household servant. Once he gave a talk before the front gate of the temple while another lecture was going on inside, and a large crowd was drawn to hear him. He soon found himself resented and criticized by other religious teachers, and near the end of his life was condemned and persecuted by the local government. Later masters called it the payment of karmic debt, and Master Songguang was said to bear his adversity with profound equanimity. I also got a picture of him that I printed out. Pass it around. Okay. And so one day on the mountain, Master Songguang met a lay practitioner who had a skin disease. The layman asked the master, "This disciple's body is bound up in illness. Master, please help me repent my sins." The master said, "Bring me your sins and I will absolve them for you." After a pause, the layman said, "Looking for my sins, I can't find them anywhere." The ancestor said, "There, I have absolved your sins. From now on, live in reliance on your true nature, on practice, and on spiritual community." Master Songguang ordained the layman and gave him the name Sun Tan. His illness subsided, and he later became the master's most famous disciple. So here's a story. Legend has it that Bodhidharma initially refused to teach Songguang. Songguang stood in the snow outside Bodhidharma's cave all night until the snow reached his waist. In the morning, Bodhidharma asked him why he was there. Songguang replied that he wanted the teacher to open the gate of elixir and universal compassion to liberate all beings. Bodhidharma refused, saying, "How can you hope for a true religion with little virtue, little wisdom, and a shallow heart and an arrogant mind? It would just be a waste of effort." Finally, to prove his resolve, Songwon cut off his left arm and presented it to the first patriarch as a token of his sincerity. Bodhidharma then accepted him as a student and changed his name from Songwon to Huike, which means wisdom and capacity. Here's another story. According to the Denkoroku, when Songwon and Bodhidharma were climbing up View House's peak, Bodhidharma said, "Where are we going?" Songwon replied, "Please go right ahead, that's it." Bodhidharma retorted, "If you go right ahead, you cannot move a step." Upon hearing these words, Songwon was enlightened.
Interesting. Thank you,
Thank
Cindy.
you.
Question or anything to supplement?
Okay. Of course, we have a lot of time. So at this time, the floor is actually open. So if anyone would like to share anything with the class, anyone, somebody.
Kai, you want to add anything to Cindy's story?
Well, don't you guys know the story of how he met Sangguan? Right? I mean, how he met Bodhidharma, right? That's a very famous story, right? Right? The story of the bun. I mean, the picture, right? He drew a bun, right? Or at least that's what the story says, right? You guys know the story,
Bead, right?
So-
Isn't the rosary bead?
Yeah, then he hit him. Right? Yeah. He got angry, because that time he was still not enlightened yet, right? He didn't, he wasn't enlightened yet. He was still, you can say, he was still attached to Dharma, right? That's, right? Attachments are many have many forms, right? I mean, the most basic. There's two types, right? There are two. You can say two categories, right? There's the internal aspect, and then there's the external, right? So external is very is obvious, attached to something, right? Form, attached to a person, attached to, I don't know, something, a hero, a god, right? A god attached to something, right? Attached to something. That's the external. Then there's the eternal. What's the internal? Come on, what's the eternal?
Buddha nature.
No, not Buddha nature. No. Come on, it's so obvious. One word, one letter. One letter. I, ego. Attachment to ego. I mean, isn't there an I? All of us say, hey, just me, right? I, right? That's I. It's ego. So there are two parts, right? I mean, in general, you can look at it different ways, but this is one way. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So one's internal, right? I is internal, right? It's me, right? Me, I, my consciousness, my thoughts, my opinions, my self-worth, whatever, right? That's I, ego. Okay. So anyway, so Bodhi, Huike or Shen Guang initially, right? Shen Guang, that's his name before he became enlightened, right? His enlightened name is Huike, right? Hui means 智慧的慧, wisdom, potential for wisdom, or could be wise, Huike, right? 可以的可, right? Right? So anyway, so before he was enlightened, he was still what? Attached to what? Right. He was also attached to the form too, but that it's two. What form? Dharma, teaching. So Bodhidharma said, he said, the Diamond Sutra or whatever, right? And Bodhidharma said, so drew a picture, say, well, so that you can eat this bun or whatever, bread or whatever. So Sangguan got mad, right, and took the rosary beads and flung it at Bodhidharma, and Bodhidharma it broke his tooth, his front teeth, I think, his front teeth. But Bodhidharma did not spit out the teeth, and so it did not touch the ground. You understand? So now in Buddhist tradition, right, the 5 cardinal sin, right? One of the sin is to shed the blood of an enlightened being, either an arhat, or Buddha. Okay, and Bodhidharma obviously is he's like a Buddha. He's concerned like a Buddha, right? He's an enlightened being, right? So if you shed the blood of an enlightened being, that means your sin, quote unquote, or your karma will be very, very bad. You'll be punished. And also, that's one. That's to the person who caused that. And two, the area that has the land that has the blood of a enlightened being will then suffer calamity. You know that?
Condemned.
Yeah, calamities. You know that? Yeah, that's the Buddha's tradition. Okay, view, interpretation. So therefore, he didn't do that. So he did not allow. So because he knew, Bodhidharma knew that this would cause great, calamity to this land. So therefore, he didn't. I think he swallowed or whatever. I don't know, something like that. And then so he left. Then he left. Right, Bodhidharma left, went to the monastery. I think he went to the Shaolin monastery or someplace. Anyway. So that night, Sen Guang, right? He I don't know if he had a dream or he met, because he's already, he already cultivated pretty well. He already can reach probably certain state of, dhyana, 禅定, right? 禅定, certain state of dhyana. So he met the four, is that four? I forgot. Yeah, I think it's the four, what do they call the four guardians of the underworld came to fetch him, say, hey, Sen Guang, it's time for you to go, to come with us. And Sen Guang was really, really surprised. He goes, I've studied the Buddhist, the Dharma for so long, and you mean to tell me I still have to go underworld? So isn't this kind of like a waste, right? So he asked the guardian, say, why is that? How come? And the guardian told him that, you have not been enlightened. You have not been, certified, 印证. You have not been certified. That means, what means 印证 in this case means you have not received the three treasures. Really the first treasure. Three treasures. The first treasure is the most important, obviously. And so Sen Guang was shocked. He goes, after I studied I memorized all the Buddhist scriptures, the Diamond Sutra, the whatever, Lankavatara, all that sutra. It's useless, right? Because, right? We all know that, right? Because both Siddhartha said, right, with the flower, right? You guys know, right? He pointed that the certification or the seal is not in the scripture, right? It's passed beyond outside of scripture. But anyway, all right. So he asked the guardian, say, well, where can I get this this certification? And the guardian say, well, that person that you met this morning, that you broke his tooth or whatever, that he goes, really? So anyway, so he goes, please allow me one more day, to go and get this certification before you come and get me. So anyway, that's what the story says. But so anyway, he went and searched for Bodhidharma at Xiaoling, and then that's the whole story. So, it was snowing that day, so he kneeled in front of the gate, the door, for I don't know how long, and then the snow came up to his waist or shoulders, whatever, and then finally Bodhidharma, decided to see him, and then that's the whole story. That's when he passed on. That's when he realized that. That's when he, basically became Bodhidharma's disciple. All right, so that's how it started, and then he got the name Hui Ke. That's how it goes. Okay, but then Sen Guang also had other. Yeah, he was very. He lived to a pretty old age, like 100. Yeah, 105, 110. That's what they said.
Really?
But he could have lived longer. But he was beheaded. You know that, right? He got beheaded because it was. Okay, it was during the Nanbei Cao. That was called the North and Southern Dynasty. So it was still kind of, it was before the Tang Dynasty, obviously, even before right after the Sui Cao. No, it's after Sui Cao. Okay, it's before the Tang Dynasty. There's Nanbei, right? 还有个辽朝. I forgot, something like that. But anyway, the point is, it was still not, it's kind of chaotic. China wasn't unified back then under one dynasty. There are different dynasties. And also there are different kings. And I think he was part of the Southern Dynasty, right? The Nan Cao. And they had different kings. The first king was the one that Bodhidharma went to when he first came to China. He talked to, and that king was very generous in giving, or sponsoring a lot of monasteries, monks, and that. But so he asked Bodhidharma, said, "Hey, do I have a lot of merit?" And Bodhidharma told him, "You got nothing, nada." So that's why the king was very was wasn't happy, angry. And I don't know, it wasn't him. I think it was his successor, or somebody, I forgot which king, that started persecuting the Buddhism. Okay, and so and that was unfortunately when Hui Ke started, was doing a lot of spreading of the Tao, of the Zen. Really, it's the Zen of Bodhidharma. That time Bodhidharma already left China. I think that time already did. And so and because of that, there were also other even within Buddhism. it's kind of sad. They have different rivalries, because they all believe that my master is the true, it's the true, has the true lineage, not yours, and so therefore, right? And because of that, partly because of that, and also because of just the Taoists, the Confucianists, they also were jealous or envious of Hui Ke's followers. So they all spread rumors and said to the authorities, and eventually got to the king, saying and then so they kept they brought him in, and they asked Hui Ke, are you a I don't know. They say, are you a freak? Are you a weirdo? Are you like spreading basically, spreading false teachings, that type of thing. And but see, the problem with everybody's personality is different, and Hui Ke is very because he's very. I don't say he's very rash, but he's very
Willful?
I don't know how you want to characterize, but he was very direct. Maybe that's his. That's his. Because you gotta understand, because they are already at a position of responsibility, so they cannot say, they cannot come across as very weak, or as very wishy-washy. Maybe that's a better term. Wishy-washy. Say, maybe this, maybe that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he and also he was pretty old. He was already 100 something, 105, 110, whatever. So he just said, he is whatever they say. Because, and here's why. The reason why they take that attitude, people say, then that's dumb. He's not wise. He's not being, he's not consider, he's not, he's not being wise. You know what I'm trying to say? He's not smart, right? He could have said, no, king. He could have defended himself. He could have said, no, king. Those are false rumors. Blah 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 blah. Now look back. Think about it. This is not unique. This type of situation is not unique throughout history. Look at Jesus. Jesus was brought before, what's his name? Pontius Pilate, whatever, right? And Pilate asked him, hey, Jesus, we heard rumors that you are, I don't know, they say you are the Messiah, you are the, whatever, the King of Kings, the whatever. But Jesus did not shy away, right? I mean, he said that he's not that. But he never shied away, right? Jesus could have said, no, these are false rumors. I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. I'm a poor carpenter's son or whatever. He didn't shy away. You see what I'm saying? So he eventually was, still crucified. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't shy away. Because he's already, and here's why too. During Buddha's time, let's go back to Siddhartha, 250 years before Jesus, or roughly 700 years before, Hui Ke. He doesn't shy away too, Buddha. He never shied away. You know what I'm saying? He is considered, there's so many things. One of his epithets is called what? King of Dharma, right? Fa Wang. Fa. Right? Fa. Fa Si de Fa, right? Fa Wang. Right? That's one of the titles of a Buddha. You know that, right? Of an enlightened person. It's called Fa Wang. Right? So Fa Wang, he's fearless. He's like what they call Si Hou, right? Si Hou, that means roar, lion's roar. A lion, Wu Wei, fearless, right? So he's Wu Wei, right? He's fearless, right? So a lion is fearless, right? I never see. Well, maybe there is cowardly lion. I don't know. The Lion King, right? I don't know. Whatever. But so because they are already at that level. So they don't, like Jesus, like Buddha, they don't shy away from, from the truth, you can say, or from truth. And also, at that level, they're already enlightened. To them, all this is physical. The body is not they know it's not, it's not that it's not precious, but they already attained, right? They already attained enlightenment. They're already Buddhas. So it doesn't, they don't mind whatever happens to the body. It's not a big deal. You see what I'm saying? It's not a big deal. Jesus didn't mind. It's not a big deal. He's already enlightened. He already has nirvana, you can say, right? So it's not a big deal. Whereas mortals would say, oh yeah, I crave life, right? Because I still have attachment to your eye, right? To the eye, to the physical body, right? So you still attached, say, oh no, I want to live, so I better be careful, right? I gotta do this. That's because we're not yet enlightened, right? We all have that stuff, right? You understand now, right? That's the you can say the attitude or the approach that these enlightened beings have. To them, the physical body is no big deal. It's nothing. It's no big deal. It's not that they disregard. It's just that to them, that's not the higher reality or the higher truth, right? The ultimate truth is that they're already enlightened. They know that whatever happens to their body is not a big deal. It's nothing, right? So Jesus was willing to die on the cross. No big deal. So therefore, Hui Ke was willing to die for what he believed, and he did not therefore because maybe the alternatives. Let's say he had started an argument with the king or whoever with those, and that would start a big mess. Then that could lead to other stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? So therefore, that's why he avoided all that, and that's one way of not creating karma.
And how did they pass the lineage?
Yeah, that's a good story. That's a good point. He did before he was captured or brought to the king. He did pass on to the second. What's his name? I forgot his name, but anyway, it doesn't matter. To the third, right? And he told the third patriarch, to hide, go into the mountains. Don't make yourself known, because he knew they were being persecuted. You see what I'm saying? By the king. So that's why very little is known of the third patriarch, because he basically hid. That's a so. Dao, you could say so, right? So means to preserve, maintain, to guard, right? The Dao. So he didn't spread. So really, the third kind of like was like unknown. What's in the background? What's unknown? And so after all this persecution died down, then the third was already pretty old by that time. And then what happened was the fourth one was very young. He was, I think, in a dream, or somebody told him to go to the mountains someplace and meet the third and receive the Tao from the third. You know that? The fourth. It was pretty young. I forgot. It's okay. But you could. These stories are all in the lineage of Tao. But I didn't talk about that detail. But anyway, but that's how it happened. So that's why, in this world, right? In this physical, and we should realize, we should understand that there are peaks and valleys, right? There's at one time, the Tao was very, or the Buddhist teaching was very, very popular, you can say, right? And then at some time you can reach a peak, and then it gets persecuted. So therefore it goes downhill, right? And it'll become so by the time the fifth patriarch came along, it was already at the trough, you can say, at the bottom, and it started picking up. So by the time the sixth patriarch came along, or when he received the Tao, it became ascendant. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. That's same thing with Christianity, right? After Jesus' time, it was very popular. Then he got crucified, and during that time, it was headed downhill. So people scattered, his disciples all scattered. As a matter of fact, within the first 100 years of Jesus, roughly 200 years, really. 100, 200, through Paul, 2-3 generations after Jesus, all the disciples, Jesus is, it's very interesting. Jesus' top 10 disciples, right? 12. Besides Judas Iscariot, so there's 11, right? Besides it, because he hung himself, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Of the top 11, the 11 remaining one, 10 of them, all got killed. Yeah, all became martyrs. You know that? 10 of them all became martyrs. 10. Only one. John, St. John the Divine, the guy who got exiled to the island of, what's that island called? Samos? No, I forgot what island. Anyway, island. In the Greek Isles. You can go there today. It's off the coast of Turkey. He's the author of what? I'm glad, we should be happy that he survived. Why? Because it was there, when he was in exile, that he wrote the book of Revelation. You know that? The last book, what's that? Chinese? 启示. Yeah, that means to reveal, right? To the book, the Revelation, right? Apocalypse, he talked about the apocalypse, all that stuff, right? It was him. Well, some scholars debated that, it wasn't the same John, but whatever. But that's the popular tradition, understanding. So, basically, 11 of the 12 disciples that Jesus had all got killed, either beheaded, crucified. No, they're either stoned to death, beheaded, or crucified. Scary, huh? So it's not good to be a disciple, huh? I mean, think about it. Okay, and Buddha's disciples, top 10 disciples, 3 or 4 of them got killed too. Mu Jianlian, Sariputra, Shibuti, and somebody else. Well, Shibuti died of old age, but Sariputra and Sili. No, is that just? Yeah, I forgot. I know Mu Jianlian got killed, got killed, killed by somebody else. So anyway, so there are dangers, I guess. There are dangers. So it's very interesting, right? So by the time when Shen Guang received the Tao, it was already pretty dangerous. All right, it was dangerous. Well, it was later on. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but later on. And so by the time between the second, the third, and the fourth, it was all it was like in the valley. You're at the low end. Okay. Then it's only through the fifth, from the fifth to the sixth, that's when it starts picking up again. But then later on, after the seventh or eighth patriarch, eighth, they got persecuted again. It was around 800 AD. It's called the it's a Chinese term, Ba Si Wu. I forgot. There's something. It's 800. It's during the Tang Dynasty, latter end of the Tang Dynasty. They got persecuted again. So it's you have to say rise and peak, and that's the way that's the way. Look at our Tao, right? After the 18th patriarch, right? When we go to China and Taiwan, they got persecuted too. You see what I'm saying? So it's there are peaks and valleys, all right? So it's nothing is smooth, okay? Nothing is smooth, and that's the way it is. And so it's also part of the you can say. The heavenly cycle, the heavenly cycle, right? So, so okay, and here's the thing, when Shen Guang got beheaded, right, he finally got beheaded, supposedly, right, when you get beheaded, it's a pretty bloody mess, right? It's a lot of blood, but supposedly no blood came out. It was white milk or something like that came out. So that's like, whoa, a mystery. But it's not strange, because not during Buddha's time, before Bodhidharma, four patriarchs before Bodhidharma, the 24th patriarch of India, 24th, I don't know what the Chinese, Simha, his name is Simha. I think it means lion. It means lion in Sanskrit. It means lion. He got beheaded too. You know that? He got persecuted by I think he was spreading the Buddha's teachings someplace in northwestern India, probably near present-day Kashmir or something around that area, and he got beheaded too. And so instead of blood, also white milk came out. Supposedly, that's the story. Okay, so these are patriarchs. So these are enlightened beings, and so to kill them is very serious crime. It's considered a 5 cardinal crime, sin, and you're supposedly with those 5 cardinal crimes, you're going to suffer in Avicii hell. Now, RBE, right? RBE, something like that. That's the little translation. It means, the the deepest and the the continuous suffering, whatever.
I think it's 18 levels down.
Yeah, it's the bottom level, but but not only the bottom level. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's bottom level. It doesn't matter. But the point is, it's continuous suffering. It's continuous punishment. No non-stop. You know that. So it's, anyway. So it's it's pretty severe, pretty serious crime. So anyway. So so it's very interesting that throughout history, even patriarchs, Buddhas. I mean, Jesus, right? I mean, you can say Jesus is like a Buddha. They all die for their belief. So it's very, it's good to read about Jesus' story because even Paul, which is 2 generations after Jesus, even he got beheaded. You know that? Yeah. So they became martyrs. I think in Chinese martyrs is 烈士, right? 烈士, right? 烈士, martyrs. So even Paul, became a martyr. And Paul is very instrumental because without Paul, Christianity could not have spread that widespread. You know that? Without Paul. So even Paul got beheaded. Among others, there's so many. I mean, there's so many martyrs. It's just littered. The history is littered with the blood of these martyrs. It's amazing. It's amazing. So it's interesting to read about that. You guys should do some research. History. Know a little history. It's because it's part of the you can say it's part of the lineage. It's good to know, to understand. So even those people under those you can say pretty darkest days for cultivation, they still somehow maintain their faith. So that's why faith is very, very important. Faith and belief and sincerity is a foundation. Without that, think about it. If Paul, if Hui Ke did not have faith, we probably would not know of the Tao today, right? So that's why it's important in spite of the the persecution or whatever. Okay, so that's one thing to learn from. Okay, thank you.